Governor Herbert has laid out a clear vision of economic development for our state. He's asked us to be the best performing economy in the nation and a premier global business destination. I recently had the opportunity to think about that and talk with other economists about what we need to do to become the best performing economy in the nation. So I went around and talked to a lot of my economic friends, and it's interesting, they all said the same story. They essentially say, when you ask them, what do you need to do to have a stronger economy? They focus on economic fundamentals. They talk about infrastructure and the importance of transportation infrastructure to lower transportation costs, to lower business costs, and to create a place where the economy can truly hum. Quality of life. We live in a knowledge economy, and people with knowledge, people with talent can live anywhere they want. They will choose places with life quality. Tax and regulatory environment. We have to have a business-friendly state to be a top-performing state. We have to have taxes that are competitive and regulations that are reasonable. We also need to have a well-educated workforce, and creativity and entrepreneurism are important. Interestingly, the economists that I spoke to, who collectively have about 150 years of experience studying, analyzing, thinking about the Utah economy, they also talked a lot about innovation and the need to innovate our way to better economic times and indeed to prosper as a state. So I thought it would be interesting to compare those metrics of economic performance and came up with a little thought exercise. It's a quadrant analysis, and it essentially puts an economic metric along the horizontal axes and innovation, a spectrum of innovation, along the vertical axes, ranging from stymied to innovative. And then we basically say, where's the Utah economy today, and where should it be to be the best? So let's give this a roll and see how it looks. Starting with transportation infrastructure. Along the horizontal axes, we'll look at a bad transportation system to a great transportation system. And then along the vertical axes, we'll look at innovation. If you're in the lower left-hand quadrant, you're a congested economy with limited choices in transportation and very tradition-bound in how you approach transportation. Up in the upper right quadrant, you're an economy with free-flowing traffic, abundant choices, and innovation in the way we do things. Putting up bridges on the side of the road, a transit network that has a bus rapid transit, a transit network that has design build as part of how you create the network. My panel of economists put us solidly in the upper right quadrant for a great transportation system and innovative in the way that we approach it. We can always get better, and we always want to push to the upper right. But we are an upper right quadrant state when it comes to transportation infrastructure. Next, we looked at quality of life, again showing a span along the horizontal and vertical axes of low life quality to high life quality, and then innovation running up and down. If you're a lower left quadrant quality of life state, you're polluted, you're congested, you have high crime, you're really behind the times in how you approach quality of life. If you're a right quadrant state, it's clean, it's safe, convenient, and livable. My panel of economists, again, put us in the upper right quadrant, giving us very high marks for life quality. The recreation opportunities here, the convenience of living in this state. They did think that we could score higher on the innovation scale, thinking of innovative ways to fund the arts in our state, or maybe some other ideas of how we innovate to clean up our air to preserve life quality. Next, we looked at the business environment, the tax structure, and the regulatory environment. Again, a span from high taxes, excessive regulation, to competitive taxes and reasonable regulation. And then our innovation scale along the y-axis. In the lower left quadrant, you have burdensome regulations, you have high taxes, and a stagnant economy. In the upper right quadrant, you're competitive, you're affordable, and you're cutting edge in how you approach things. Now, Utah has a very business-minded regulatory structure, but we do have higher than average taxes. So my panel of economists put us dead center. We've got ways to improve, but we're still in the upper right quadrant, and we can move higher. I've saved education for last, and I've done that for a reason. We're seeing some significant education warning signs. We have increasing racial and ethnic diversity in our state. We have lagging test scores among peer states, and a growing need for post-secondary education. And in every case, we're seeing things that cause concern and create urgency. So when we did the quadrant analysis for education, ranging from an uneducated state to an educated and a stymied to innovative state in education, in the lower left quadrant, people have limited opportunities. They suffer from economic hardship and do not have the level of independence that you would want. They're socially dependent. In the upper right quadrant, abundant opportunities and true prosperity. This is the interesting part of our economic development quadrant analysis, because my panel of economists put education in the lower left quadrant and solidly agreed that we needed to be in the upper right quadrant when it came to the most important pillar of economic development in our state, that is an educated and talented workforce. We're concerned. And I would say that the single most important impediment to education progress in our state is not class size, it's not teacher performance, it's not tenure, it's not funding. The single greatest impediment to become an upper right quadrant education state is our inability to unify as a state and create the momentum to create the innovation and investment that's needed in education. David McCullough has an interesting quote where he said that the problem with education in America is us. And if we want to be an upper right quadrant Utah, we need to put due diligence into innovation and investment in education. Economic development is everyone's job. It's our hope that we can become a right quadrant state.